one of the best in the business, is Tom Morris. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Kane. Morning, Kingy. How are you both?
Is it an exclusive if it's already been reported?
I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but you know my thoughts, Kane, generally on the word exclusive, and we've discussed this on Locked In a lot.
Okay.
So that is all I'll say on that. But I don't know exactly what you're referring to. But my view is no journalist should ever use the word exclusive themselves. That is a blanket rule that I have.
We will move on. What's happening at Essendon? They have a new coach?
Yeah, so it looks like that's going to be the way they're going to go, isn't it? Mark McVeigh today. We'll meet with the powers that be at the Bombers, and then tomorrow they'll unveil him. It's I think it's been a long time coming. They clearly wanted to get through the Essendon-Sydney game. They also clearly wanted to get through the last game of the season once it became apparent that he was the guy. There was no rush for it because Carlton had decided on their coach and he wasn't in for that anyway. And I just want to make it very clear again, and James Hird did this last night himself on Channel 9. I've said this for a few months. There is no world in which James Hird becomes Director of Coaching or Senior Assistant at Essendon. He was either going to be Senior Coach or nothing. So there's been some reports around that would be the case, but he was Senior Coach or nothing, and he confirmed that last night. So McVeigh, the new Essendon coach in the next 48 hours. It's a big call, given he hasn't really been in for any other job since he coached the Giants. He's highly regarded at the Swans. Clearly they've had their own issues at Sydney as well, which McVeigh hasn't been involved in directly, but it looks like that's going to be the way they go in the next 48 hours.
Tommy, do you think that justifies some of the original names taking themselves out of the race because they did think it was it was going to be an Essendon appointment? Like, Kenny Hinkley was strong on that. I think John Longmire was strong on that. Corey Enright, James Kelly, I think, from memory, was another. So do you think that this appointment justifies that stance?
Kingy, I've been strong from the very start that this was going to be an Essendon person who understood Essendon, which is why I never believed Jamie Graham or Murray Davis were actually properly in the mix. Now, Essendon would push back on that and say, no, they presented well and, they're in the hunt. But from the very, very start, as soon as Brad Scott got sacked, my information was they needed someone who understood Essendon Football Club intricately, the nuances, the fan base, I guess the history of the club, and almost certainly that was going to be someone that played for Essendon, unless it was someone that had coached at Essendon before in an assistant coaching capacity. So that's why McVeigh's name was up in lights. And we know that Andrew Welsh and Mark McVeigh are very good friends. And I completely get that in the next 48 hours, Andrew Welsh will push back on any notion that this was a job for one of his best mates. But he does know Mark McVeigh really well. And that surely helped Mark McVeigh along this process, along with the fact that he is a former Essendon player, along with the fact that he coached the Giants for more than half a season, and he's been at a good club in the last year or two at the Sydney Swans, and also coached there. So they needed someone in their own eyes that understood the intricacies of Essendon Football Club, and Mark McVeigh does fit that bill.
James Hird touched on a few different points last night, but it sounded like he was open to doing a Nathan Buckley and going to another club, resetting, and then moving on with the dream to coach Essendon is now gone. It sounded like there was still some fire in the belly to take hold of potentially another club. Is that what your thoughts were?
I didn't actually hear him say that, so it's hard for me to comment on that. But I mean, that would be the logical next step if he does want to be a senior coach, wouldn't it? I mean, and then the next question is, would a club take him on board as a senior assistant? I think there'd be a spot for him somewhere, for sure. It's just a matter of whether he wants to actually do that, full time, and whether he has the commitment to do it. But I didn't hear him say that last night.
So Mark McVeigh this week, how many questions is he going to get about the Sydney situation, Tom, and how should he tackle that?
Well, it's a significant part of the story now, and I think he will get questions on that. And how he tackles it will be an intriguing part of the next 48 to 72 hours, because Mark McVeigh did nothing wrong, but he was in the foyer when the alleged victims were making their complaints to other Sydney staff members. So he does have some level of awareness over how it all played out. Now, this is not to say that in any way he should have been penalised or sanctioned, or it should have impacted his role to be Essendon coach. But I think it's a legitimate question to ask, what he saw, how it played out, and what his views were and what happened. And I think a strong answers from him, similar to how the Sydney Swans have acted in general, I think would bode well. But it has been, I'm sure it has been a talking point behind the scenes at Essendon and a factor in their decision making as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And they'll have to come up with a strategy. Now, just for the Essendon fans tuning in, Kingy and I will have a deep discussion on this Essendon story and the new coach. We've set aside some time for you to have your say and for you to have your opinions, and we'll give you ours as well. Kingy's got some strong thoughts on that. We'll do that a little bit later on Fireball. Tom, we'll get on to Sydney before we get your thoughts on where this story lands today on Monday the 24th of August. Dean Cox spoke on the Swans' culture after the win yesterday against North.
You know, the culture that the club's had for a long period of time is about supporting each other and doing whatever you can for someone else. I think the staff and all players, the way that we had it was good to show everyone that we're here to help each other and support each other in any way, shape or form. And whenever something was needed, we would do that. And yeah, as much as, you know, we understand everything that's still happening with an investigation, you know, the way the players showed up and the staff throughout the week has been something the club should be proud of.
Where's it land this morning, Tom? What's the latest?
Well, we're all in the dark from a legal perspective, aren't we? Exactly how it plays out. You know, where this investigation goes next, if and when the sexual crimes squad interview the 5 players involved. We know they've spoken to staff members and witnesses at Sydney Football Club. It's whether they step up their investigation to include the players themselves and where those players are at the moment in order to do that, whether they're in Sydney or elsewhere. And then from a club perspective, how they move on as well, and from an AFL integrity unit perspective, where they take it to, because I think there's some components which are relevant to the AFL integrity unit, but this story is nowhere near being done. And this is not to say that charges will necessarily be laid. We're all in the dark on that, but I still think there's a lot to play out here and a lot more information that needs to come out in the next few weeks to determine exactly what went on, and then as a result, what sanctions are applicable for these players, whether they be legal sanctions or AFL sanctions.
Is it the possibility that the players could be deregistered for 12 months? We discussed this on Crunch Time on Saturday morning. I know you're on cricket duties, but is that realistic?
I think everything's a possibility. I wouldn't rule anything out here. I'd go as far as saying it's a possibility that these AFL players, if it does, go down a legal route, which is particularly extensive, that these AFL players don't play football again. I also think there's a chance that they don't play for Sydney again. I also think there's a chance that they get deregistered. I wouldn't rule anything out at the moment. I think it's all very much on the table while the legal authorities and while the AFL and the integrity unit and the Sydney Swans establish the facts, which aren't established at the moment. And I've never seen a story with as much misinformation around this. It's actually been quite wild and quite damaging to everyone involved. Which has been, I guess, disappointing and harmful to those who are directly involved as well.
Yeah, I think we should just pause with those conversations. They're allegations. Let's let the legal side of it just take hold and take its time, really. I mean, this is just because we're in a hurry, the code's in a hurry, doesn't mean you jump ahead of normal course. So I just think everyone's just got to chill for a fraction with their take on this. It was an emotional day yesterday, though. I mean, at the SCG, it was quite lump in the throat stuff in the post match. Not sure how much of it you actually saw, Tommy, but it was one of those days that you'd never forget. I think as a fan, if you were there, or as a player to be involved in just watching those guys basically break down in front of us after such a tough week.
Yeah. I only saw the replay. I was doing the cricket, but it was it clearly a deeply emotional time for both the AFLW and the AFL men's team as well. And it was great to see a record crowd at the AFLW game, 16,000. But it's been a heavy week for everyone involved. And I commend those players from both the W team and the men's team who played yesterday and won. I commend the fans who turned up. this is uncharted territory for everyone in this game, and the emotion was really clear at the back end of this game, and also the back end of the day, how much it affected everyone involved, and I'm sure that will linger as well around this week. There's so many people involved that have been deeply affected by what happened, and also the allegations that have been made from a legal perspective.
All right, that will play out over the coming weeks and months, Tom. But it is time just to lighten things up a little bit, because we do like to put you under the pump with this.
Now on Fireball, Crystal Ballers with Tom Morris.
The only man who's got voiced his own stinger. And Tom, are you ready? Are you ready? Now, this is where you're not reporting anything, but you just give us your best indication of what you think maybe happen with what we throw your way.
Oh, I'm never truly ready, but it's Fireball, so I'll either go.
Football manager under Mark McVeigh, GM of football.
Craig Vozzo, I'd say.
Back.
Johnny Farnham.
From CEO to GM of football.
Yeah.
Right. Zach Butters?
Telling Port Adelaide this week he's leaving, but not necessarily nominating a club yet. But when he does, I'm sticking with the Crystal Ballers Geelong, but it doesn't mean that's going to happen. But it's Crystal Ballers, so I'm going to say one thing. So I'll say
exactly. Geelong. You have to, Geelong. Okay, now, Josh Jenkins said 99.9. Now, he's a non-newsbreaker, so always very, very dangerous. Zach Merritt?
Hawthorn. And just on Zach Merritt, played with a broken eye socket and a bulging disc in his back yesterday, but I still think Hawthorn, particularly now that James Hird hasn't got the job.
What's the value? What's the sort of trade capital required now?
Well, not what it was last year. I'd say
it's not that now.
No, one first rounder.
Okay.
What about Zane Dersma?
Gee, that's a good question.
Oh, it's tough.
Let's go Melbourne for Zane Dersma.
Melbourne.
First player officially named for Tassie.
Oh. And when will that be as well is a great question. Let's go Bo McCreary.
Bo McCreary. Marnus Labuschagne.
I'm actually standing watching him right now in the airport.
Is he in the nets? Get back in the nets, Marnus. Get in the nets. For goodness sake. Get Cam Green to bowl you some of those 145 Thunderbolts and get in the nets.
What are you asking me about him?
Where's he going to be? Like, who is even his state? Who's he even play for? It's been that long.
Queensland won't be in the 11 for the start of the South African series, but I tell you who will be Cam Green, batting at 5.
Yep. All right. Anything else, Kingy? You need to chuck it, our man.
No, I think he's fine. I think we'll let him slip through.
Oh, one more. Tim English.
Yeah. Tim English, an outside chance to play this week is my information. I know Bevo ruled him out. Outside chance to play, and I would say next year. No, I'm still saying at the Dogs next year for the moment.
Really?
Can I just get a little bit of pick and stick for Tommy, please? Just a little bit of background music for me. Marbior Chol in the wet versus Aaron Norton with a broken ankle.
Marbior Chol every day.
Oh.
Tim Gossage or Jared Waitley?
Jared Waitley every day.
Oh.
No
All right.
Would you, yes or no answer, please, would you drink a coffee given to you at 4 a.m. by a stranger?
Well, I don't drink coffee, but if someone gave me a chai latte, yes, I would.
Yeah, it's because you're tough. Hey, Tom, nice work. We'll get you back here to the States safe and sound. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you. Fine at Brisbane, then Melbourne. Look forward to being back on Agenda Setters tonight with you, Kane. Chat to you later.
Oh, that's a long day. That is a long... He didn't think about that when he signed up for SEN cricket and footy, did he? Didn't think that through.
He took the cash.
and the New Ball podcast. Gossage is here. He's not happy. Can I get a hat? Yes. I'll show you the hat that he's got in a moment.
Oh, tonight was pretty simple. We fundamentally didn't play a great game of footy. I think conditions, we didn't adjust to the conditions first half in particular. We came in at half-time, we had 30 more handballs than kicks. I think Hawthorn had double the amount of kicks than handballs. So it's a really simple formula. We just fumbled too much, didn't handle their pressure. And really, we probably got taught a football lesson in a lot of ways, to be honest.
Andrew McWalter, the West Coast coach, summing up last night. We're going to sum up their season with the Fireball Files for Signet. Life's never flat when you power every moment with the Signet Power Bank. Their ins to start this season. Dersman with pick 1. Duff Tytler with pick 4. Goss's man Murdoch, who he broke that story on Fireball, would have been better off on the Eagles podcast to break that one. Devon Robinson and Starcevic came in. Oscar Allen went out. McGovern retired. Liam Ryan was traded, and Dom Sheed was retired. Let's have a listen to our prediction with our Bullseye before the start of the season. They won 1 last year. I can't see how they improve. I've got them at 1 again.
Yeah, I've got them at 1 as well. 1.
Now, I think what happened there,
Jeez, we're harsh.
we were generous early, and then we realised, hang on, we've sort of run out of games. So we had to go low. So we butchered that. We butchered that. They won 4, they lost 19. Kingy, what's your hottest take on the Eagles?
My hottest take is I think that these young men have got a huge pre-season opportunity in front of them. And I said last night, I'm looking forward to those photos in February. And I see where the Shanahan's put on 6 or 7 kilo. You see where the Harley Reid is shaped again to become the pure professional package. And does Dersma put on some size? You can tell from the photos in February how much these boys have done. And I'm really excited about the fact they've got their torchbearers. I think that the Slight Delight and Harley Reid, they're gonna drive this footy club back to finals and hopefully premiership contention. It is hard to find those guys. You know, you can go for years and not find the guy to stand out in front of your group. Harley Reid's that guy, isn't he?
Yep, he is. He's their next captain. We'll get to him in a moment. My hottest take is that, so Matthew Clark, I believe, is their main recruiter and list manager. I think this guy knows what he's doing. And I think he's done a very good job. And you mentioned Shanahan. He's picked 30. I don't know if they've missed. I'm sure someone will pull out some receipts on ones that they've missed, but they've got key posts set for the next 10 years. Now, look at how many clubs need key forward or a key back. This club needs none of that. They got Dersma and Reid through the midfield, but they just need to get some more experience through that midfield. They desperately need an elite small forward or 2 and some role players through there, but their key position stocks are absolutely set. So I think Clark has done a terrific job, and I think in 4 or 5 years' time we're going to look back on him and say, gee, he's done a good job at building this list. Now, easy to do when you have a lot of picks up the top, but he's also nailed them at the back end of the draft, which is important as well. And Shanahan can be anything. So pick 30 in 2024, what a pick that was. Now we go through a stat in your laptop, the HP, that is flashing red with you could have taken your pick on anything. Their centre bounce stuff was diabolical. So I think they need a bigger ruck in time. Williams is a good jumper, and he's going to be a great sort of shepherd for these Duff Tytler types to come through and eventually take over. But their centre bounce stuff was horrible. Have you got anything that stands out to you?
Their ball movement is the worst in the competition from coast to coast. And the way they play lends itself to that. It's the old Richmond sort of esque model. So I think that's clearly got to be a focus for the off-season, which you would expect. I know we've got needs a big pre-season. Can we get to that?
Yeah.
Because I think Ruben Jinby just can't be a lockdown defender. I think they've got to find another way for this guy to be seriously influential every game. So whether that's as an intercept marker at centre half back, or effectively a half back flanker type, third tall defender role, and make him A grade. I think he's really good and a great competitor and all those sort of things. But I feel like at that pick, I think he was pick 9. At that pick, you've got to be more than just a lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, he was great, and he gave it his all, and his heart and soul, of course, ripped his quad badly. But yeah, it's going to be pretty boring if he's your main lockdown key defender. He's not big enough, I don't think either. He's not tall enough. So that's a good one. Who needs a big preseason for me? Elijah Hewitt. I'm not sure what happened to him. I thought he was made of the right stuff, injuries, and now ended up playing waffle. They've given him a big deal, certainly a long deal. I don't know if it was big, but they believe in him, and at his best with Reid and Dersmer and others through that midfield, I think he's a nice piece. But time's running out for Elijah Hewitt, so he needs a huge pre-season. The club MVP is none other than Harley Reid. Clearly, we would both agree on that. I think you had him in your All-Australian draft, so around the edges of the squad. Yeah, he's going to win a few All-Australians. He's going to win a few best and fairest. And his game has developed really nicely. Not to say that there's some areas that he doesn't need to continue to work on, and he might get reported for suspended for the tackle on Newcombe last night, and he gave away 14 more free kicks than anyone else. But once he just sorts that out, it's pretty exciting what he's going to be capable of doing.
Are we giving the coach a pass? Are we giving him a dash? We get tick, cross, or dash?
Yeah, I was having this discussion. So he comes into the last year of his 3-year contract. I think you need 5 years. So I'd be, he's not in danger of losing his job, but I think it's a pass. Not a convincing pass, but a pass.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that as much as everyone will tell you, no, list committees do this, not just senior coaches. I'd love him to attract. Could they go and get a Warner ahead of time? Not having to wait until the free agency. So their acquisitions are going to be big. They need some senior bodies, don't they?
Badly.
They've just got one or two, 2 or 3, I should say, too many youngsters in that team at the moment.
And trade bait, I don't think there's anything obvious with them, unless you've got one, Kingy, but I don't think there's anyone.
They lack skill. They need skill.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to trade anyone that anyone is sort of desperate to get from the Eagles. It's more about what they can trade in, more so than what they can trade out.
Disappointing season. Anytime we finish in August, it's going to be disappointing. So we've got work to do. We're aware of that. We'll dig in over the off-season and the pre-season and come back better next year.
Did you point to injuries? Is that an excuse?
Partly. Got to work on our game. We still managed to beat a lot of the really good teams in the competition with injuries, but we're a bit too inconsistent. So got to find a solution and train it hard.
Ooh, a lot of questions for that man, Adam Kingsley, the disappointment of the season, which pretty much started after State of Origin when they lost 1 or 2 and they just couldn't get their full complement. This is the Fireball Files, and we're discussing the Giants and the fallout to their season. Key ins, they brought in Clayton Oliver, Callum Ward retired. They had Tom Green, Kelly, Taylor, Buckley, Callahan, Daniels, Whitfield all suffer at least significant injuries this year. Their record was 10 wins and 13 losses. Here's how you and I saw it before the season with our Bullseye. Look, I just think it's going to be hard for them. They're well coached. They've got some good players still, but I've got them at 12.
I'm going 13. I'll probably pared that back a little bit. Injuries are a concern with Green, obviously, and I think they got a pretty tough start.
Just off, but around the mark. You and I were
a little bit high, 13. The hottest take, well, the second wave has crashed. They had their first opportunity, back in 2017 to 2019. That didn't quite get the job done. Then I think the 2023 to 2020 sort of 5-6 has now crashed, and now the new wave has to form. So there's a little regression coming, I think. And then you got to wait for Cadman, Callahan, and Darcy Jones, and the Big Gru, and Fonte, and Gothard, and these guys to form that next nucleus or that next frontier to get this club back up the top. Because the days of relying on Green, who will leave, Whitfield, who is now in the back half of late in his career, Kelly, who we haven't seen for some time, they've got to get it. They've got to get these guys now the prime minutes and fast track.
Yeah, I agree with that. from my hottest take, I think it's the trickiest spot the club's been in since 2014 when they won 6 games, and there's just a lot of challenges that go against the Giants. A lot of it's not their fault. It's a hard place to attract players, and we've seen that. They've really had to rely on the draft mainly. They've got a couple of distressed assets in, but mainly it's the draft. I think their draw is always a nightmare where you just don't get access to your home deck at the start of the year. Like, good luck. They travel more than anyone else. It's a difficult place to attract staff, and they're going to lose a few, and we'll speak to Jace about that, but it feels like Brett Montgomery's going to go, and assistant coaches living out of vans and all that sort of stuff that we laugh about, but that's the reality of it. So it's, and then the list has reached the cliff, and they've fallen off with the names that you've mentioned, and then they're going to lose a couple of players that have been really important to them in Hogan. We know the package is leaving, that was confirmed, and then who knows about Toby Green, but 99.9% chance that he's joining Geelong according to our man Josh Jenkins. So they're in a really, really difficult spot, and it's going to take some shrewd management and decisions to get them competitive again.
How do they do it against the best teams and not the average teams? Like 5-5 against top 8 and 5-8 against against bottom 10. So I sort of don't understand that. Like, is it the way they play? Does the way they play challenge the best and is gettable for the average? I don't really understand that.
Yeah, I can't answer that either, and I don't even know if the coach can. That's probably a frustration for him. It would be sitting back going, well, as he just said, we can do it against Brisbane and Fremantle or whoever, but haven't been able to do that consistently. So just speaking of that, the way that they play Kingy, that back half game, is it flashing red? Does it clearly needs to be some adjustments to it?
Yeah, there needs to be absolutely some adjustments, and they did the right thing getting Clayton Oliver. He was terrific this year. He'll be right up there in their best and fairest. Get Green back in, maybe they can become a serious 1-2 punch.
Yep, needs a big pre-season. Tom Green, for me, gets super fit, super hardened. Their club MVP, probably Clayton Oliver, I would think. And then their trade bait, well, they got a few, but they're not going to get much for them. Nothing for Green, nothing for Hogan, nothing for Stringer. Maybe the likes of Cornelio, but you're not going to get anything for him. So David King's the best analyst in football. He is along for the ride with me. Wrote a terrific article on Friday online, Saturday in the Herald Sun, in relation to James Hird not getting the Essendon job. Kingy, just to recap, you've been strong on this right from the start. Just to recap what you wrote and your feelings this morning as we're waking up to the news that Mark McVeigh will be Essendon's next coach.
I can't help but feel that he was never getting the job, James. Now, that may be 100% wrong, but I just don't know how, when your whole mantra has been about uniting the club and getting Essendon back and returning to greatness, I think that man would have done it. Now, you can have your opinions on whether he has done the right thing as a coach to that place before and all those sorts of things, but they're not the reasons he hasn't got the job, because he's been put through the process. If they were the reasons, then he wouldn't have been taken to this point.
That is where you and I agree exactly on that. I'm with you. I don't think he was ever getting the job either. So if that's the case, they need to make the hard call before the process started to say, James, we're not letting you into the process for these reasons. Not get everyone's hopes up or his hopes up or whatever, and disrupt the whole process by making it difficult to get the best possible candidates for the job. So that was a cop-out to allow him in and not having that strong conversation with him before the process even started.
And I think it's a bit disrespectful to do that to your greatest players. If you had have done that at the start, would we have had some different candidates in there? Would we have had some other options, some bigger names, those with maybe a bit more cachet? I'm not saying they've made the wrong decision. Let's give Mark a chance. Is that going to appease the Essendon fans? We hear of a lot of unrest already, and this is exactly what we thought would happen if they overlooked James Hird.
Well, let's have a listen to James Hird. He was on Footy Furnace last night on Channel 9, and he had this to say about missing out on the job.
Oh, well, firstly, congratulations to Mark, a great friend of mine, and very proud of him that he's going to be named the coach, and so good on him. From a personal point of view, though, it's very disappointing. I'm disappointed, put my heart and soul into the effort, but obviously fell short, and that's the way it goes.
I doubt your phone will be running hot. Have you received a call from Essendon to say thanks, but no thanks?
Not yet. No, not as yet, but maybe that's coming.
Maybe that's coming.
Yeah. late, isn't it?
It's late. It is late. So you mentioned with Tom about his thoughts about another role at the Bombers and other coaching opportunities. He answered that question again last night.
Has there been a discussion about another role apart from being senior coach?
No, not with me. So I think, it's time to move on to other things. But as I said, congratulations to Mark. He's been a coach for about 15 years now after leaving as a player at Essendon Football Club, been to the Giants, been to Essendon, done a lot of work in development. So, yeah, good on him.
You just mentioned move on to other things. Is it still a passion to coach?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously we're down at Port Melbourne at the moment and we've got a final series to play. We'll see what plays out at the end of the year with some other clubs that have been contacting me and see what happens.
Other clubs been contacting him. So that's what he needs to do, and that's what he needed to do years ago if he wanted to get these opportunities, to go to other clubs and continue his coaching and not just think you're going to walk back in. So I think he was naive to think he would ever get the job. You disagree with that, with the lack of experience he's had in the last decade. So now he's open to that, and that's the move he should have made a long, long time ago. We're on to Essendon. Sullivan Roby came in with pick 9, Farrow pick 10, Sharp with pick 13. They went heavy on the draft. Fiorini went out, as did Draper, to the Lions. Key injuries: Martin with the ACL last year, Darcy Parish with, you guessed it, another soft tissue setback, and poor form as well, and Jordan Ridley cannot get himself going. They won 2 games, they lost 21. Here was our bullseye when we did this before the season started. 5. Oh! 5. Sorry, Bombers. I didn't think Zach Merritt would want to walk out. I didn't think Ridley would get injured again.
5 wins.
What do you got them at?
I got them at 7, and I thought that was being a little bit harsh. They have to have more luck than last year. It's as simple as that. The injury toll of last season was frightening.
Wow.
The reason we found that so funny
to me.
Oh, yeah, no, this is not a victory.
Another one to me.
He went with 5 after saying they'd win a final this year. That was
the year before I said that.
Yeah, you said that this year was the year they would win a final.
With some caveats.
There's no caveats.
Merritt didn't blow it up.
No
caveats. Sack the coach and. Yeah.
Hope they've rebadged caveats.
Where's the song anyway? JKL feels just a bit. Is he on lawn bowls mode?
He's in Murray Steamers mode.
I wasn't as definitive as that. I wasn't. But they'll play finals next year. Anyway, you know the drill. You know the drill. I'm going to do a song on you wanting to sack Fagan. That's because you've brought this up 17,000 times this year. So let's do that one.
It's
next
a performance black hole out at Windy Hill at the moment, and they've got to get this right. They've gone to Mark. I sincerely hope the Essendon faithful just channel all their energy in a bit of positivity around the place. I feel like they haven't had that luxury for some time. I know that the Herd shadow we've talked about a lot, but they've been the easiest team to play against in the competition for some time now. And something has to shift. And I just hope that Mark brings a defensive stability that we haven't seen at Essendon for a decade. Hopefully he can bring something of that that base from Sydney or from his days at GWS. I just hope sometime at some point that next year we say, gee, they're hard to play against.
Yep, I agree with that. I also think that they've got the most pathetic group of senior players we've seen in some time. So I'd be cutting wood. I'd be cutting wood left, right, and centre. Get the chainsaw out and all the dead wood. I'd be cutting it up. And so I'm talking Parish, I'm talking Mackay, I'm talking Ridley. And I don't care if you have to pay some of that salary. A genuine fire sale at Essendon to refresh the state psychologically of that club. Merritt will go, and thank goodness that saga is going to end. What a dent on his career this whole 12 months has been. So Merritt goes, Parish goes. Ridley, is threatening to... They'd give you free to a good home, Jordan Ridley. Go. Mackay, go. See him eating hot chips in the crowd yesterday? What a professional athlete, just chowing down on chips in the crowd. What a disgraceful group of players they've been. That's my hottest take. Get rid of it and start afresh. Start afresh. He just didn't have 3, Kingy. This is a professional athlete. diving deep into the bottom of the chips and just having every last little one of them when you haven't had a kick on $1 million for 3 years. Get rid of it all is the hot take this morning, and start afresh and build around the great characters of Caldwell, Durham, Caddy, and a couple of other youngsters coming through, and let's just clean this joint up because that is what it desperately needs. Anyone want Parrish? Adelaide, you need a midfielder? Have him. Brisbane, you want Ridley? Have him. Anyone need a key defender? North, have Mackay back. Take him.
Have him back.
Take him for free.
We got Pinky, mate. We don't need him.
So you mentioned the defensive stuff. That's their flashing red stat. Who was your club MVP?
I've got no idea.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They're not having one this year.
I thought Caddy was like in tough circumstances. How many goals he ended kick in the end? Like one out with that ball use that was about as worst delivery as you're going to get. He was terrific, and I thought Durham is made of the right stuff. At least he gives genuine effort, uncompromising effort. Who needs a big pre-season?
He finished on 46 goals.
This is good effort.
Yeah,
46.
Great effort. Yeah. And his signature has been the biggest piece of success they've had for some time.
Correct.
So what did you say?
Who needs a big pre-season? A whole lot of them.
My God, where do you start?
Now, there's a conspiracy theory in the NFL with the substation out there at San Francisco. It's the reason the electromagnetic waves
fields
weaken the tendons and the muscles.
Because they've had a lot of Achilles injuries.
They have. So is something happening out there at Tullamarine? Is it the surface? Is it the aeroplanes? Is it the jet fuel? I don't know what it is, but they've got to sort out. They've got a new fitness man. They spent a lot to get him in.
These new facilities, they take a long, long time to feel like home. They're very hollow and soulless in a lot of ways. It's a little bit like our man out of Dingley. I'll tell you, where the world makes wind out of Dingley, it is very similar out of Tullamarine.
Is that where wind was created?
Wind is made. It's where wind starts. I studied. I'm no weatherman, but that's where they create wind out there. That's where it starts. Don't mention wind to Mitch though. Whatever you do not mention it to him.
You're not allowed to mention.
Not allowed to mention it to him.
Where's your muffin? Where's that muffin?
It's still going 30k an hour down the Dingley bypass. Never a better road, by the way. A Dingley bypass. Anyway,
that's where they make wind. That's maybe the call of the year that you've come up with there. Any trade bait? Well, there's a bit.
What would you get for Mackay? What would you get for him? Seriously, you get nothing.
God.
You wouldn't get that bag of chips.
I don't even care. I don't care. Just free to a good home. Anyone want him? Who wants him? I mean, Port can use some players. They'll take him.
Dogs.
Anyway, we'll see how this week unfolds as they announce a new coach. Well, I didn't see a whole lot of it because I was making my way to Perth yesterday, but umpire number 5 had an issue with a throw up, and I don't know if it's a trend for umpire number 5, but when you throw the ball up in the centre bounce, you've got to give it a bit of air.
Juice.
You got to give it a bit of air, not just a little puff that goes sort of half a metre up, which goes straight to the Essendon ruckman, which cost Port Adelaide a goal, could have cost them the game, and not one of the 4 umpires or 3 others decided to call that back. So that was a big loser for me. The Mitch Lewis mark, which was not a mark, which was correctly called by the controlling umpire as not a mark. The non-controlling umpire thought they'd come in and overturn that decision, which was clearly wrong. So a couple of losers when it comes to umpiring over the weekend. Get it right.
Yeah, there's only
for
one
finals.
There's only one big loser this weekend. C. McRae.
Yeah,
how they could lose a player. How they could lose a player from their best 23, Cornsey, by the decision to front them all up and roll them out there in a meaningless round 24 game. The most ridiculous decision I've ever heard of.
So I walked back in.
You'd get sacked in America if this was the case.
Hotel room at lovely Crown Towers last night.
The Crown.
You should stay there when you come to Perth, let me tell you. I highly recommend. And they look after us magnificently. The Fox Footy was on as I walked back in, and you were having that exact discussion on first crack with Jay, and for the first time on First Crack, there was a bit of an argument, which I liked. I was like, I'm in for this. bit more of this, please. And you were arguing whose fault it was, and Jay was sort of saying, well, it's not the player's fault. You're saying, I don't care whose fault it is. Just don't do it. And credit to you, you were big on that prior to the game. Wasn't a hindsight.
So Pendlebury's done some really classy things. Even that first quarter the other night, he was really good.
He was good forward.
Yeah, at half forward, it's a tough role. You can starve there, can't you? So
we're in trouble now.
I think so.
Yeah, we're in trouble now. Also, a few people suggesting that North were the biggest loser yesterday.
Oh, that was bad.
Have a listen to their coach, Alistair Clarkson.
Yeah, we're making some ground in the experience that these guys are getting, and the guidance that some of our senior guys are showing. And but we've got a hell of a lot of work to do, and we need to go to the draft again. We need to try to trade as well as we can, try to get our list better. Every side in the competition is trying to improve their list, even the sides that are going to be playing at the pointy end of the season, still hoping that they can get their list better for next year. So we're going to be in the same space, and then get to work.
Get to work. All right. Go and get a key defender, please. Do not run with the line that we're going to go with the same 5 key defenders, Brady Rawlings. That's a warning to you. Fair bit to get through this morning. Kingy, any concerns over the Dockers? Your Dockers?
Oh no, not a problem at all. Bring
no
Murphy
concerns.
Bit disappointed to lose Brennan Cox, to be fair. And wouldn't mind seeing a bit more out of Mason Cox, but that's all good. They've had the perfect home and away, haven't they?
Pretty much.
Nothing's gone wrong there at all. They've managed that perfectly, and let's see if they can do it under pressure of a final.
Not one concern for me either. So just chill out for those in this part of the world. That there was no reason for them to need to win that game on the weekend.
Does anyone play the MCG better than Brisbane?
Remember they had the issues a few years ago? Yeah. We used to talk about their record, and Fags got upset. You couldn't ask him about it. You get very, very testy.
Like the winded Dingley, and I'll talk about that with Mitch, and I'll talk about the G. It's all flipped.
Now.
It's all flipped. Does anyone play it better? They were so aggressive on the weekend. Just showed some vision last night of how high their press was. They're right in the hit zone. If they turn that ball over, those halfbacks were almost in goal scoring range. There's 50, 55 metres from their own goal. So I was taken by how brutal they were with their aggression on the game against the Pies, and maybe that's the way you have to play against Collingwood. Maybe.
Yep. All right. What about Melbourne? Any concerns? Because I was looking at their Max just absolutely dominated. So he had 59 hitouts to 17. Now late they got on top, and he was putting it wherever he wanted it. But is there an issue with their lack of depth and talent through the midfield at Melbourne? I think they lack a grader through the midfield to capitalise on Max Gawn's dominance. So they end up winning clearance in the end. But in the first half, certainly that was an issue for them. And they scored 4 more goals from stoppage, so they win it by 28 points in the end. But it was dominant, and they certainly didn't put that into scores in the first half. Are you happy with the likes of Pickett, obviously, but then there's not much underneath him through the midfield? Sparrow's had a good year, but I'm not sure. Worried about their mids.
Yeah, really? I think Melbourne are at their best when Max is hitting it away from the opposition's best. Not keeping it in that zone. What he did against Hawthorn, I thought, was brilliant, and exposes some options for this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they handle how Max. Max is the most dominant figure in the game. You just can't take him out of the game. And even on the weekend, they still. The dumbest thing in world sport is when you've got a kick out to kick it towards Max.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It happens way too much. Why would you do that? He's the most dominant aerialist in the game right now, and for some reason you choose to kick it near him. I don't understand that at all. But you're right. They need Cozzy to be absolutely at his best, and when he's not, the gap's big, isn't it?
It is. And Carlton, their form ladder, are you worried that your job is in jeopardy? That they could come from outside the top 6 and win the premiership? Are you worried at all? Are you concerned that my Dogs, they've done it before, can get on a run and win the premiership as I predicted they would before the start of the season? Are you worried for your job?
Where did the Dogs finish?
Are you worried for your job?
What position did the Dogs
finish?
In
the wild card position.
Did they finish 8, 7 or 8?
Let me see.
8's fine. It's 9th and 10th is your wild card spots.
Well, not really though.
That was the discussion.
Not now.
That
7th, 8th, 9th, and
won't
10th
be happening. But that's
are the wild card position.
That's the discussion. 9th and 10th. 9th and 10th are not winning the flag.
So you're not worried that
I'm
Carlton,
not concerned at all.
the informed team in the comp, can get on a run and cost you your job?
Well, you got to beat 5 top 8 teams to do it in a row. So now
what would you do without Fireball and SEN?
It would be so hard to live without getting up at 4:20 in the morning twice a week. It's not an inconvenience at all. If you asked me nicely twice, I could give it up. Oh, I tell you. It's going to be a tough day.
I get nervous. I get nervous one day you're just going to pack it all in and walk away. That would be a disaster for everyone.
Yeah, if it doesn't, it's not going to take too much to give this away, I don't reckon. Can we have a chat about Jeremy Cameron? His new role. Do you like the new role of him?
No, not for me.
You don't?
No.
First half, he played at half back on the weekend.
Do you like it?
I do.
If I'm the opposition coach and I see Jeremy Cameron across half back, I'm doing cartwheels.
But yeah, because he is banged up a little at the minute.
Well, he is, but I would be.
What about
playing him as close to goal? No, I'd be playing him as close. Now, who am I to question Chris Scott and their coaching panel? So can I just say that firstly? But if I'm coaching against them, and the further up the ground, the better. If I see Jezza, that's my view on it. So I'd be playing him as close to goal as possible.
Okay, I still think he's one of the best field kicks in the comp.
No, there's no doubt about that.
So I like that asset, getting the ball 25 times a game.